وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ أَفَتَتَّخِذُونَهُ وَذُرِّيَّتَهُ أَوْلِيَاءَ مِنْ دُونِي وَهُمْ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ بِئْسَ لِلظَّالِمِينَ بَدَلًا. Surah-Al-Kahfi, Surah number 18, ayat number 50. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا, and remember when we said, لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا, to the angels, usjudu, prostrate, li-Adama, to Adam al-Islam, fasajadu, so they prostrated, illa iblisa, except Iblis. We'll return to this part, illa iblisa. There is an interesting nuance over here. But first let's complete the verse. Kana minal jinni, he was from among the jinn kind. For fasaka, this is important, fisk. So he could, and therefore he did violate. Fisk is violation. An amri rabbihi, against the command of his Lord. Against amri rabbihi, the command of his Lord. Afatattakhizunahu, so this is a question word. It starts with hamza fatha a. So fa is so it's a question word. So do you take him? So it's afatattakizuna, una, it's in the plural. So do you all take him? So but in English, I've explained this before, you don't have a separate form in the singular and plural. We use you for both the cases. So do you all take him? wa dhurriyatahu, and his offspring? So do you all take him and his offspring? Do you take him? So do you take him and his offspring? Awliya, as protective friends? Min duni, besides me? So besides me, so the way you say it, that intonation is already captured. Min duni, besides me. So, but in English, we don't necessarily have those intonations embedded into the words itself. So I have written even besides me, but then it sounds a little odd. But just to highlight that there is an emphasis connotation embedded in the construct, I've used the word even besides me. So do you take him and his offspring as protective friends even besides me? Wahum lakum aduwan. So this vow is while whom they, lakum, for you or to you, aduun, enemy. But there is a reversal in the standard order. So we will translate. So while they are enemy specially to you, so again the emphasis is coming about. While they are enemy specially to you, besides an expression, we can express it, what a bad something or how bad something. So any of the constructs is okay. How very bad, lizalimina, for the wrongdoers, badalan, it is as an exchange. But in the English language, we normally would say something like, how very bad is it as an exchange for the wrongdoers, with an exclamation mark, of course, because it's an expression, and it's emphasized expression. Bisa, the term itself is emphasized. So this was it. I think I told, this part, illa iblisa. Now, in English, we're not able to convey anything other than this simple translation. So they prostrated except Iblis. Fasajadu illa iblisa. So they prostrated except Iblis. But there is more than that. So the standard construct would be something like fasajadu illa iblisu. That would be the standard construct. I'll give an example so that it is easy for you to appreciate. La ilaha illa Allahu. So that's the standard construct. But here it is iblisa. Why is that? So one of the reasons, so first we have to understand, is there a reason enough for this word to exist in the nasab status? No, there isn't. So if there isn't any reason for a word to exist in the nasab status, why does it deviate from the default or rafa status? Iblisu. So one of the standard ways in which an emphasis is highlighted is nasab, Iblisa. That can be one way to think about it, but that is not the primary reason over here. The primary reason over here is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to highlight that Iblis was not part of that group because the commandment was given to the malaika, to the angels, and by this minor modification in the sound, in the status from Iblis to Iblisa, he is highlighting that he is not part of the group. And this is further highlighted. Kana min al-jinni. He was from among the jinn kind. So he is a separate creation. He is not human. He is not angel. He is from the jinn kind. So, but even without this kana min al-jinni, that subtlety itself expresses that. The Iblisa word, the construct itself expresses that, but that is made, so that's an implicit way, and it's made more explicit so that there is no confusion that remains in the minds of the those who hear, those who read this text, kana min al-jinn. Now, there are two important things that we want to discuss over here. First is, okay, by the way, this is story number 3. When you hear a discourse about Suratul-Kahfi, you would probably hear there are 4 stories in the Quran. I differ. According to me, there are 5 stories in this surah. The first, obviously, is the story about the companions of the cave. The second is about the 2 men, the rich man and the poor man. And the third one is this one, the story about Adam al-Salam. Because this story is mentioned in the Quran in 7 different places. This is repeated 7 times. This is just one of the occurrences, Suratul-Kahfi. Here it is just one of the occurrences. In the rest of the 6 occurrences, it's actually quite elaborate. Now, therein it gets me to the point I'm trying to highlight. So, and this is, by the way, the shortest occurrence of the story in the 7 times that it occurs in the Quran. This is the shortest, only one verse, only just this verse number 50. So what I want to say is this is a story which has significance, which has importance by itself in the Quran. So this story is there. So this story has to be counted as story number 3. The 4th story will be the story of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr alayhi salam. The story of Khidr alayhi salam essentially. And the 5th story would be the story of Zulkarnain alayhi salam. I mean, those are histories, the history of Khidr alayhi salam, the history of Zulkarnain alayhi salam, if you want to put it that way, that's perfectly fine. But this is story number 3, according to me, and then we'll have the message in the next verse. So, I've highlighted this. So, in the other 6 occurrences, this part is common. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ. This part is common. Kana min al-jinni is missing. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intend to highlight by stating this in this narration in Suratul-Kahfi? So, Kana min al-jinni, if you say that this story, this additional information just serves an additional bit of information, then you're massively deficient in your understanding. But Suratul-Kahfi is profound, is very profound. Everything over here has so deep meanings that we need to go into a deep thinking to be able to sort of unfold the mysteries which are being mentioned or highlighted over here. This is not just an additional bit of information that makes part of the story, no. So in each of the 6 other occurrences of this story, all of those are elaborate, but all of those are highlighting different aspects. Different details are mentioned in those 6 stories, 6 narrations, 6 versions. There is an element of overlap as well. It fits in the context in which that is being narrated, each of the 6 occurrences here as well. So what it suggests to us is this point, that do not take a verse of the Quran in isolation. It is possible that you could be misled if you're not careful enough. So if this part alone is there, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ. There is a possibility, I'm saying there is a possibility that you could wrongly assume, incorrectly assume or incorrectly interpret that Iblis is part of the angels, but that is not the case. I mean, that subtlety is mentioned, obviously, Iblisa, but that is a very subtle way of highlighting this aspect. So this is being made explicit. So more than this information, what is important over here is that it is teaching us the methodology in which to read and understand the Quran. This is a lesson in Quranic methodology. That is why this becomes so very important. I hope I was able to make this clear to you. So the Quranic methodology, do not take verses of the Quran, do not take a verse of the Quran in isolation. It is possible that it could be misled into developing false assumptions, is what I'm saying. And there is another important element to it. Remember who asked the questions? The Jews, the people of the book. And along with the Jews, who also share the book, the previously revealed books, the Christians. And there is a concept among the Christians. And obviously this surah also started towards the beginning, if you remember, about Isa al-Islam, that they wrongly claimed that Jesus, Isa al-Islam, is the Son of God. So that wrong assumption is also developed over a period of time, amongst the Christians. This part then, so they have this concept that Iblis, whom they call Lucifer, was an angel and he is referred to as a fallen angel. But in Islam, we know that angels cannot disobey the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't have free will. Jinns have free will. Human beings have free will, but angels don't. So that misconception is also being clarified. No, Iblis or Lucifer is not a fallen angel. Angels cannot fall, they cannot disobey. Rather, he was from among the jinn kind, and that's why you see the word immediately after that is fasaka. He violated. And why did he violate? He could, and therefore he did. It is not possible for the angels to violate the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So very important intricacies, nuances, and it's an absolute masterpiece in which this has been constructed. This one verse, one story. Obviously, as I told you, that this story occurs in the Quran a total of 7 times. There are 6 other occurrences as well. But what you thought was just an additional bit of information, Kana min al-Jinni, was far more than that. It's much more profound than that. So as always, we'll read. I think I have already explained whatever I wanted to for this session. For this verse, we'll read the verse and the translation once again, as we always do. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ. Let's read it slowly. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ usjudu. So lil malaikati again, li al malaikati usjudu li adama fa sajadu illa iblisa kana min al jinni fa fasaqa an amri rabbihi afatattakhizunahu wa dhurriyatahu awliya'a min duni wa hum lakum aduwwun bi'sa lidh-dhalimina badalan. And remember, when we said to the angels, prostrate to Adam al-Islam. So they prostrated except Iblis. He was from among the jinn. So he could, and therefore he did, violate against the command of his Lord. So do you take him and his offspring as protective friends even besides me, while they are enemies specially to you? How very bad is it as an exchange for the wrongdoers?